Hello and welcome to Fitstare's World of Sport in association with Boodles. Check them out at boodles.com. Let's introduce today's panel. Lola Katz-Roberts is here. Hello.
Hi, Adrian.
Hello. We had a great night at Winter Races, didn't we, on Monday? Thanks for the hospitality. It's great to meet your twin sister. You are Lola, aren't you? Not Scarlett.
Yeah.
Just checking.
Keep you on your toes.
Henry Beasley's here. Hello, Henry.
Hey, Clarky, how's it going? You all right?
Yeah, all good. Chelsea still in the Club World Cup?
Draw's opening up quite nicely, isn't it?
You're not going to win it. And I'm delighted to say that co-founder of the Offside Rule Pod and the always excellent Sky Sports broadcaster, Lynsey Hooper, is joining us.
Hello, everyone. I feel like I've missed out on this horse racing night. I've heard a lot about it.
It was really good fun. Brilliant to have your company today, ahead of the Euros. You're super excited? You pumped for it?
I am. I mean, any major tournament I'm always up for. But I think when you've got the Lionesses looking to retain a title, I mean, who'd have thought that we'd be saying that a few years ago? It's just amazing to be behind this team. And I think since the squad announcement, there is a lot of excitement. You look at the list. I know there's been a lot of other things going on, a lot of other news lines. But actually, you look at on paper at that squad and it is really, really strong. So Lionesses fans should be feeling really hopeful going into this tournament.
Better or worse squad than 3 years ago?
Well, see, I always saw Sarina Wiegman's lineup for the first Euros that she won as quite a building project. You know, you had Russo and Toon coming off the bench. She was trying out new players. There were some players that were certainly on their way out, and you think about it being a farewell for a few people like Jill Scott and Ellen White. And actually, you've probably got a skeleton of players, of which we've not got as many as we thought we would have now, that's probably stronger. And that blend of youth and experience could be better in some ways. But there are some questionable areas. I think midfield's one. And I think the fact that we've got an attacking lineup, which I think there's definitely goals there, but you know, who's going to be in that number 10 position is also a big question for me at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, you've alluded to Ellen White and Jill Scott, and they're obviously not with the squad anymore. And there's been a lot of noise in recent weeks with the the retirement of Fran Kirby, Millie Bright's withdrawn, Mary Earps has retired from international duty. How much do you think England will miss the kind of leadership of having those figures in the squad?
Yeah, it's interesting. Those were the news stories that I was talking about because they just kept coming, didn't they, one after another. And I think from a Lionesses point of view, it felt like a few sucker punches. So the Mary Earps one, it goes without saying that Hannah Hampton, she'd got the nod to have that number 1 shirt. And Mary Earps' announcement, the timing isn't great. I think there is a gulf between Hannah Hampton and the backup goalkeepers in Kiara Keating and Anna Morehouse as well.
Are they uncapped?
They're uncapped for England. Very experienced club players. But you would think going into a major tournament, you'd want them to have more England caps between them, wouldn't you, than 0. So if there's an injury for Hannah Hampton, I suppose there's concern there. How often do we see number 1 goalkeepers get injured at tournaments? It's not that often. I can't think of that many occasions.
Can I ask you, was it a big surprise that Hannah Hampton took the number 1 shirt ahead of Mary Earps? Did she deserve it?
I think she deserved it, and I think Serena's been looking at her for that for some time. And remember, this is a player that's had a really interesting journey with England. She was actually shut out for a while and then got back into the squad. I mean, there was a moment when I was talking to coaches who were coaches of Hannah's and saying, you know, we can't get her in the England setup for a while. She's not going to get back in. So the season that she's had, that move to Chelsea being all important for her as well, working with Sonia Bonpastor, then winning a treble, combined with the fact that Mary Earps, despite being this number 1 goalkeeper in the world, getting that move to PSG, not playing as much. So I think you put those two things together, you can't deny what Mary Earps has done for England. But I think you have to go on the current form, and on current form, Hannah Hampton deserves to be number 1. I don't think anyone would dispute that.
Is it as simple as Mary Earps doesn't want to be sub?
I don't think she did, and she might have that element of wanting to go out at the top. You know, she will be considered England's best number 1 goalkeeper, I think, for the Lionesses thus far in history. And so from that perspective, she's probably thinking, I'll go out on the top, I've won all these accolades. And there might be other things going on, you know, her statement related to that. But I don't think we should hone in on that. I think when you're coming to the other players, Millie Bright not being involved is a punch. And mainly for the fact because she would have been a number 1 starter. She would have been the centre-back lineup that they've practiced with. It would have been her and Alex Greenwood, or her and Leah Williamson dropping back, or Leah Williamson being advanced in midfield a little bit more. So that's changed the tactics, it's changed things. And I think Millie, from a leadership perspective as well, will be hugely, hugely missed. Now, she cited reasons of exhaustion and physically being and mentally being fatigued. She's undergone knee surgery since, so we know that there's a lot of things that have been going on there for her. And that was a big decision. She wouldn't have wanted to do that easily, to step away. I still think when you look at the lineup that we've got, a combination of Alex Greenwood and Leah Williamson is great. Yeah. You know, if they can stay fit, I think that's a really good centre-back pairing. What you've got to think is all of those combinations together, Hannah Hampton being number one, there's going to be a little bit of a chink in the armour that other nations will think we've got to get at them because they're not quite cemented.
I want to talk about ego because in 2022, you know, it's fair to say that was a massive sliding doors moment for the Lionesses, and they were kind of catapulted suddenly into proper celebrity status. You know, I saw them on the tube on the way in, they're on billboards, they're in supermarkets, they're on cereal boxes, you know, they're everywhere now. They're proper superstars. And how does that kind of change the dynamics going into this tournament? Because the scrutiny is on another level. And, you know, does that change the relationships within the squad? You know, we talked about Earps maybe not wanting to be a sub. You know, from what I hear, women's players were famously egoless in the build-up to 2022. And how much has that shifted in the last few years?
There has been an explosion, but I think you've also got some brilliant athletes there that are used to having to fight, and that is the one thing that we're not talking about, which is I actually think Hannah Hampton's a better player with Mary Earps there because they're fighting for that number one jersey. And I think you look at Beth Mead, we go up front, Beth Mead, Chloe Kelly, they are at Arsenal level, which Adrian will know as well. They're really making each other fight harder for that shirt. And so I think from a head coach point of view, if I'm Sarina Wiegman, I want that competition for places, and she isn't scared to put egos on the bench. She's shown that before. So if there is an ego element that she thinks is sniffing into this team, I don't think it is. But if she senses that, I think there is a way of her managing that she has before. The one thing I will say about the other person excluded, which is Fran Kirby, who retired, and that clearly was because she wasn't part of Sarina Wiegman's plan. She'd been told that, and then she opted to retire. Otherwise, this would have been her final tournament. That's a head scratcher for me. It's the one thing where I don't see where Sarina Wiegman's coming from. And the reason being that I look at the standby players, and you've got Laura Blinkilde-Brown, Missy Bo-Kearns, Lucy Parker. Why wasn't Fran Kirby at least elevated to that position, that if we needed her, she could have come in? Because she can make things happen. She has been what I consider to be more of a generational player. So her vision of the game, her touch, what she can do. Yes, she is at the twilight of her career, and certainly her international career. But she probably still had something to give in this tournament. I think that's a crying shame, and that's the one omission that I just thought maybe as a backup, if you could have convinced her to stay, she would have been a really good option.
Is there a bias towards the top clubs in the WSL? Because I think if you look through the squad, there's very few, if any, that aren't in the top 4 clubs in the WSL.
Well, you've got to look to that standby list, haven't you, for Aston Villa players, Brighton players. I think Agimiang is interesting because she's an Arsenal player on loan playing at Brighton. So she's been playing and impressing from having that club form with a loan club. There is probably a bias there, because if you look down the list, and that's only because the gulf in the WSL from the top 4 clubs to the rest of the league is huge. You know, I think if you're not in Man United, Chelsea, if you're not in Arsenal or Man City squads, then you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle to get in.
The level's high. Let's just give you some of the odds. Spain are the favourites, 2-1. England 15-4. France 5-1. Germany 5-1. And then you got Sweden at 14s, Netherlands 16s. What stands out to me, Lynsey, is that England's group contains 3 of the favourites.
Yeah,
with England, France, you know, and the Netherlands. So this is no gimme.
No,
right?
and also that England-Wales fixture is going to be huge as well. I mean, Wales, yes, it's all underdog status for them. But you look at the list of internationals and the experience they've got. I love Carrie Jones, who's a younger player coming through for them. But Sophie Ingles now training on grass. She had an ACL injury, but she's made it back for this tournament. She'll surely get some minutes and have that leadership quality in there. Jess Fishlock is their generational player. Yeah. And you look across the board, they've got a WSL experience, Kerry Holland, people like that. And I don't think that's going to be easy, that fixture, especially when you give it the home nations element. And then you look at Netherlands, France, England, all contenders. France, I mean, they topped the Nations League group, 6 wins from 6, 5 clean sheets in that as well. Semi-finals of Euro 2022. I think France have been a team that have slowly been building. And Netherlands are a frustrating team at times. You know, they knocked out by Spain in 2022, weren't they? They've been knocked out by France in previous tournaments, but they will get far. They will be knocked out by a bigger team usually. Yeah. So one of these has got to not make it. So it is the group of death.
It's definitely, the pressure's on. I mean, England have lost to the Netherlands not too long ago, lost to France as well. So, but you got a little sneaky feeling for Germany, haven't you, Henry?
Yeah, I did specifically want to ask you about Germany, Lynsey, just because it feels like you can draw some parallels between their men's team and also their women's team here. So previously they've had so much success here, haven't they? They've won this 8 times, I think. And like going back to the men's team, they've obviously had brilliant success at European Championships and World Cups. They were disappointing, I think, at the World Cup going out in the group stage, but it does kind of feel like there's a bit of a rebuild going on here. They're going to come in here. I mean, they're 5-1, joint third favourites. What do you make of their chances?
So much value to go with Germany, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, lots of people would be talking about Spain and England, but Germany are certainly a team that I think will do very well in this Euro tournament. They were bronze medalists at the Olympics. They beat Spain in the Olympics. We need to know they've dominated their group in the Nations League. I think they have slowly been winning and ticking off and going slightly under the radar with that. They have got a transitional squad. They've got people who've been very well established in the team, like Pop going out of the side, etc., with younger players coming through. One of the big misses for them, Lena Oberdorf, who's such a fantastic player. She was young player of Euro 2022, which they got to the final and were beaten by England. She's missing due to injury. I think she'll be a huge miss. But you look at their squad, and they have got every chance of performing brilliantly. And the Group C, I mean, they'll top that group.
Yeah.
And I could see Germany going all the way to the final.
They're on the right side of the draw, aren't they?
As it stands, if England and Spain both win their groups, they'll meet in the semi-finals, which I suspect is why Fitstairs have priced up Germany-Spain as the shortest price final. So, do you see it as Spain v Germany or Spain v England final, or could someone else surprise? I'm looking at Sweden with a lot of players that play in the WSL, good players like Stina Blackstenius, who was the hero in the Champions League final, of course.
Great attack, yes, great attack. So I think that they'll score lots of goals. They're a concern for me at the back. Okay. They will score goals, and Sweden are one, France are another. What you've got is a number of teams as well, Spain being one actually, where they're a group of individuals that are playing in spite of their management. So some of these head coaches are not taken by the players, that there's just something there. It's happening with France, we've seen it before. Netherlands, they've had a rollover of head coaches since Serena Wiegman left as well. They're not quite settled, but the biggest one being Spain. They're really tactically not great. They're performing in spite of the management, I would say. So World Cup winners, they're going to be favourites for this. They have got an abundance of talent, but they've also got a lot of players that have played a lot of football this season. 11 or 12 of them, half of their team are Barcelona players that got to the Champions League final. They're going to be without Jenny Hermoso, who's been a huge leader in the team because she was left out, their all-time top goal scorer. They didn't medal at the Olympics. I think that came as a shock to a lot of people that Spain didn't manage to do that. They have been beaten in the Nations League by England and then beat England 2-1 afterwards. But they've been shown they can be got at. And I think the way to get at Spain is that tactical nous, because I don't think that their manager in Monza Tomai has got it.
Is Wiegman still up there? She's not lost it, because she had the magic touch 3 years ago with the timing of the substitutions. Tactically, she was brilliant. We have lost quite a lot of games since. She's still got it.
She has still got it. I truly believe that she's selected, apart from, the question mark that I said about not having Fran Kirby available, I think she's selected the best squad. She's got a couple of unknowns. Lauren James, is she going to be fit? She's taken a gamble on her. She's brought in a teenager in Michelle Agamang. So is she going to get some game time and be equally the way that Russo and Toon were in Euro 2022? Is she going to be someone that she's going to give minutes to for that surprise factor that the opposition don't know much about? I think all of the tools are there for Sarina Wiegman to have another really good tournament. But I think there are also some unknowns about other nations and how far they've caught up. Spain have overtaken, many will say. And I think coming back to Germany, if you look at that Lionesses team that won the Euro in 2022, many will have thought that was a transitional squad. It was some elements of surprise, and I think that is also what Germany have got.
It obviously wasn't that long ago that England lost to Spain in Barcelona, and I'm not sure that 2-1 really tells the story of that match. I mean, England obviously took the lead there, but Spain, especially in the second half when England started to make changes, looked significantly weaker than Spain. In those few weeks since then, there's obviously been a few players like Lauren Hemp got a few more minutes in their legs. But what can England do to kind of close that gap on Spain? And is there anything significant that might have shifted in the last few weeks going into the tournament?
Make sure that Georgia Stanway's fit. I think you need Kira Walsh and Georgia Stanway in midfield to beat Spain. I genuinely do. And I think that's going to be the key. And Georgia Stanway has had some injury problems. I think making sure that she's fit, I don't think we've got an abundance of options in midfield. Otherwise, there's going to have to be some tweaking. Does Leah Williamson come forward? If something happens there, does she have to fill a midfield role? And then you've got players like Lauren James that can drop back if she's fit and have got the experience. But I think for them, what you can't do is try and outplay Spain, and we've realised that. And Arsenal had the perfect blueprint, didn't they, in the Champions League final to say this is how you could potentially get a football possession-based side like Spain, which is what they're going to do. I don't think that their tactics under that head coach are going to be any different from the group stages to the final.
Yeah. Now, I'm a huge Alessia Russo fan. I think she's a brilliant all-round centre forward, but she's not especially rapid. And that final changed, the Champions League final, changed when Blackstenius came on and she dropped into the hole as the number 10. Could we see Russo with maybe an Aggie Beaver-Jones up top in that game?
And well, I think there'll be two ways that they'll be deployed. I think you could have Aggie Beaver-Jones up top with Russo playing in the 10, but I also think, and you've already mentioned Lauren Hemp, the speed that she has down the wings, and what we've seen from Chloe Kelly recently as well. I think that's a way of using the acceleration and using pace up front and making sure that Russo's left to run the game and just have that movement that she's so brilliant at, picking out the right space, having the right touch. She's instinctive. She's an instinctive finisher, and Russo will be our number one. But it's whether Aggie Beaver-Jones, that relationship develops over the course of this tournament and they play together.
With Russo, and this kind of goes back to what I was saying about the level of celebrity of these England players now. I don't know if you follow Love Island, but Russo's brother
I
is
know
going
that
on
Gio's
as
in it, yeah.
And I mean, I'm kind of astonished by that, because I don't think the FA would let that fly if it was a men's player. I don't think they'd be letting a men's player's sister or brother or whatever go into the villa. Is that going to be a distraction for her? Is that going to create more media noise around the team?
I mean, how do you not let that happen? That would be.
They could just, I feel like they can be quite, what's the word? Dictatorial with the men's team, and they can just be like, no.
What if he gets dumped on the eve of a big game?
Well, exactly.
Look, I've not been watching the show, but from my updates I've been having on WhatsApp groups on the way in, I think he might be on his way out anyway.
Oh, really?
So maybe that was the FA. Maybe they had something
apparently
to do
there's
with
a lady called Helena who we don't think is going to pick him. So maybe he won't be getting that far into the Love Island series, so it won't be a distraction.
Right, we've got to let you go. Give us a couple of predictions. Someone to maybe win the Golden Boot, or someone, and then the team to win it.
Team to win it. I don't think you can see past Spain. I look at Claudia Pina and Mariona Caldente and Pateas and all of the players that they've got, Bonmati, it's really difficult, isn't it, to go past Spain. It's just tactically whether they can keep it throughout the tournament. So I'm going to go for Spain as winners. I'm going to say Germany to get to the final potentially as well. And Golden Boot could be someone like a Russo or a Aggie Beaver-Jones if she gets enough time. I think we've got some clinical finishers. So, yeah, maybe we'll go for an England to get at least to the semis. So.
I like it, yeah. That's what we expect these days, isn't it? So hopefully that'll at least be the case. Lynsey, thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you.
Welcome back. If you'd like to place a bet on any sport discussed on this show, it's pretty easy. Just visit fitstairs.com. Fitstairs also have an app as well as a telephone and text betting service. If you give them a call, you can get prices on any market as well as special bets. 0207 851 5407 is the number you need. You can text the office. That number is 07 492 882 213. They'll give you special prices and a discretionary price boost if you say the magic word, which is boodles. So make sure you quote that and you'll get a better deal. Max one price boost per person, must be used at odds of evens or greater. You have to be over 18 and please bet responsibly. Right, I can smell the freshly cut grass from here. The Pimm's bar is winking at me, and I've just about saved up enough cash to go all in on the strawberries and cream. It is nearly time for Wimbledon. It's very exciting. We will cover the championships, won't we, in more detail next week as we approach the second week of the tournament. But as it stands, let's go with the markets at the moment with Fitstairs. Carlos Alcaraz is the favourite. He's been boosted by Fitstairs. Yeah, I like that. Go on, you read it out.
Yeah, so we're price boosting Carlos Alcaraz from 2.3 to 13 to 10 to 8 to 5, so 2.6 if you fancy Alcaraz to win a third Wimbledon in a row.
That's bold on the part of Fitstairs, isn't it? Carlos Alcaraz, you know.
Got to take a view, Clarky.
The likely winner. Sinner's second favourite, isn't he? 17 to 10. Djokovic 9 to 2. Draper 8 to 1. If you fancy a couple of the Brits, Cameron Norrie 100 to 1. Dan Evans 150. Jacob Fernley 200 to 1. I do want to mention the women's odds here. Sabalenka's been price boosted as well.
Yeah, so we're price boosting her from 11 to 4, so 3.75 to 130. Yeah, she's obviously been playing really well recently.
Hasn't won it before.
Hasn't won it. Surprised that she hasn't won it, actually, because she has a really good game for grass too. So, yeah, we're price boosting her, as you say, to 130, 4.33 for those that work in decimals.
She was looking good in training with Novak yesterday.
She was, yeah. She was.
And if you can hold your own with who some would say is the GOAT, then I think you've got a pretty good chance.
Federer's the GOAT.
We could do a whole
Should we do that?
On the odds, by the way, Emma Raducanu, if you're a patriotic punter, Emma Raducanu 40 to 1, Katie Bolter 66s. I do want to point you in the direction of Marketa Vondrousova, the 2023 champion, the first unseeded winner in the Open era. She was 50 to 1 this time last week, because I looked at the odds, and she's been trimmed into 12 to 1 with Fitstairs, which is obviously 13.0. She won, didn't she, over in Berlin, beats a lot of good players, including Sabalenka.
Yeah, she's just another one that I think really comes alive during the grass court season. She's got a game perfectly suited to grass with that left-handed serve we've obviously talked about a lot. Can get it sliding away on the ad side to someone's backhand. Yeah, she always plays well on the grass, and yeah, if she gets a good draw next week, she could definitely go deep in the draw.
It feels wide open, doesn't it? And the recent history suggests that the unfancy players will win. Obviously, Barbora Krejcikova won it last year.
Yeah.
Has ever a defending champion come back the year after at 50 to 1? I mean, that's nuts, isn't it?
Yeah,
I know she hasn't had a great season, but that is crazy. Any dark horses catching your eye?
Well, there is one, actually. He initially caught my eye because he has a cheeky underarm serve.
Oh, I love that.
Which I was actually saying to Henry, I reckon I could take a few points off him. I've got a very tricky underarm serve.
Is that not frowned upon?
It's one of those legal but frowned upon, you know? Yeah. I don't think... It's not necessarily within the etiquette. Kyrgios started it, didn't he, I think, a few years ago, just chucking in a cheeky underarm serve to try and catch your opponent off guard. And Yeah, we've seen a few different players. Mute's another one, isn't he? He loves to chuck one of those in.
You look a bit silly when it doesn't come off, though.
That is the thing.
Yeah, go on. So
On Bublik, he's a bit of a maverick, really, and we were talking about market movers. He's been a mover in the ATP rankings. He's climbed 15 spots after winning in Halle on the weekend, and he beat Sinner. He beat Sinner in the quarterfinals, Medvedev in the final, and Medvedev actually said afterwards, "I hope I don't have to play you at Wimbledon." So I think that's quite an endorsement, and he just seems to be coming to the boil. One of those players who kind of later in their career maybe starts to put it together a bit. But yeah, he's definitely one to watch at 30-1.
Decent. Right, now we're going to put old match point Beasley over there to my left on the spot here. We thought it might be interesting just to highlight a few of the Brits that we might not know too much about.
Yeah, exactly. I just wanted to mention a few names that the listeners might not be mega familiar with heading into next week. And then hopefully one of these names might make a nice little run
to round 2.
Yeah, well, or maybe like pushing towards the second week. If the draw is kind, we've seen it in the past. First one I wanted to mention was Arthur Ferry. So former Stanford alumni. He beat Fognini in straight sets last week in Nottingham. He's put together a nice little run throughout the grass court season here, throughout on the Challenger circuit. This is obviously a big step up, but you might remember him playing Medvedev Wimbledon a couple of years ago. Lost in 3 really close sets, but definitely sort of belongs on this stage.
Okay.
The other one I wanted to mention was Jack Pennington-Jones. So he makes his Wimbledon debut here, age 22. He made the final in Ilkley, again on the Challenger circuit. And lost in 3 really close sets to Nuno Borges, who's a top 50 player at Eastbourne earlier this week too.
Okay.
And then finally, I think one that might be most interesting is Henry Searle. So he won the Wimbledon Boys tournament in 2023. He made his main draw debut here last year, lost in 4 sets to Giron. He's got form over course and distance, let's say. If you like your racing analogies, he comes in here in really good form. Lost a close match to James Duckworth in Eastbourne again earlier in the week, but he's been a sort of top 50 player. So yeah, I think one of those 3 lads could, as I say, if the draw was kind to them, they could definitely sort of make a run.
If you've won the boys' championship at Wimbledon, like that's a strong pointer, isn't it, towards going on and having a good senior career, right, at the All England Club, or not, or is there a terrible record of previous winners?
No, we've seen previous winners do really well. I mean, Draper lost in the final of the boys. I think Federer lost in the final of the boys as well. I don't think he ever won it.
I think Laura Robson did. She didn't really kick on.
Yeah, well, she won the girls, didn't she? But Shapovalov, the big Canadian, big lefty, he won the boys there a few years ago as well. It's a good guide, and like I say, the grass is just so unique that players that do well on grass can sort of carry that on throughout their senior careers. So they're the sort of lads that I think you should all keep an eye on. But there were
any in the women's draw?
One name in particular in the ladies' draw that I think you're going to be hearing a lot more of, and that's Hannah Klugman. So she's been given a wild card into the ladies' main draw this season. She is only 16. So she's obviously still eligible to be playing in the girls' events. She was a runner-up in Roland Garros girls tournament earlier this year. She's ranked number 3 in the world under 18. She really is one of the best players in the world at that level. She found the step up to the ladies' game a little too hot to handle in the last couple of weeks in Nottingham and then more recently in Eastbourne. But she's getting better and more comfortable, I think, with every match at this level, and she's already broken top 600 WTA. So yeah, she's one that I think you're going to be hearing a lot more about over the next few years.
If you're 16 and you're in the main draw at Wimbledon, you're decent, aren't you? I mean, that is a good achievement in itself.
Think home support and support from the Wimbledon crowd in general. And I think Bublik kind of falls into this category. Players that entertain and kind of capture the imagination of that crowd, they can sort of build up momentum through the week. So it'll be interesting when we check in this time next week how some of these are doing, because stories kind of emerge from Raducanu. I remember she made the second week, didn't she?
You're right, there's always one as well, isn't there?
So what we're talking about here with these names is first round draw, match odds. These youngsters might be quite a good price.
Yeah, exactly. And you
do get 2, 3, 4 that go through to the second round. I think every single time that you might not have heard of previously.
Yeah, and like I say, some of the guys can draw seeds who might be seeded because of their clay court form. Translating that to the grass is really difficult. We've seen many times there's players that don't bring their form from the hard courts and the clay onto the grass. So yeah, it's a good opportunity. They've all warmed up really well, and yeah, fingers crossed we can see someone have a good little run next week.
Yeah, absolutely love Wimbledon. And as we said earlier, next week's show is going to focus quite heavily on that tournament. I think we're going to send you guys out on a little outside mission, a little outside broadcast for us, which I'm particularly excited about. Make sure you're good, okay? And then you'll be allowed back next week. Fitstairs World of Sport is proud to be sponsored by Boodles, the only fine jewellery brand who loves sport just as much as you do. Boodles are great champions of British sport, so for us it's a great fit to partner with them. Boodles have fantastic stores in Leeds, Manchester, Chester and Dublin, as well as at 178 Bond Street here in central London. Check them out if you can, or have a look at their website containing some stunning jewellery at boodles.com. Right, what else is going on in the world of sport? I've picked out 3 major events for us to talk about. Number 1, the Irish Derby. It takes place at the Curragh, great name for a racecourse, I think, this Saturday at 4:10. It'll be live on ITV. Who is going to win it, Lola?
Well, I think the big question is how much does the form from Epsom hold at the Curragh? They are obviously very different racecourses. Epsom famous for its twists and turns, and the Curragh is more of a galloping track. Okay. And, the prices, there's been a lot of movement in the market between them, understandably, because Lambourne went and won in such authoritative fashion. 10-1 for the Derby. Lazy Griff came second, and second is now 14-1 for this. Pride of Arras was second favourite at Epsom, and I think he's 10-1 here. So I think most people think Lambourne is the best horse in the race, but the question is, will the rest of the field be wise to the tactics? They might not let him go bowling off in front.
I was going to say Lambourne just charged off, and they couldn't catch him. Which I'm guessing, if you're you're one of the other owners or trainers, you're saying, well, don't let that happen again.
I think he's a strong stayer at the trip, isn't he? I think over a mile and a half, so they want to make plenty of use of him. One thing just to note with him though, if you are going to get stuck in at odds on, I think he's only won 1 race in Ireland, and that was a maiden at Killarney. I don't think he was particularly expected to win at Epsom, and Aidan's obviously chucked a few others in here, hasn't he? I think he's got 4 in this race, which suggests they don't think that he's an absolute certainty. But yeah, should be good to see the top 3 from the Epsom Derby rippers.
Well, look, Lazy Griff, it's not going to beat Lambourne, is it? It's come second in its last 2 races to them. Tennessee Stud as well, I think, was third. That's a shorter price actually than Lazy Griff. Pride of Arras, who Cornelius Lycett here on this show was such a big fan of, had a bit of a stinker in the Derby, but was good previously.
Well, just the way Pride of Arras bombed out kind of in the Derby, really didn't.
Too bad to be true, wasn't it? I think the ground went against it, and maybe the Classic didn't handle the track at Epsom.
But the ground conditions, we look like we're going to get a bit of rain everywhere except East Anglia, which is where I'm going this weekend. That's what I know is getting a bit of rain and mild weather. So I think the ground conditions at the Curragh are actually going to come up pretty similar to what they were at Epsom.
Interesting. Let's talk Club World Cup now. Continues apace. It's free to air, of course, on DAZN. The last 16 just about here. Are we excited by what we've seen or not? And who looks like the likely winners? And don't say Chelsea, Rory. Rory Henry.
Are we excited? I'm enjoying watching it in terms of like a precursor to next summer's World Cup, because it's going to be like a little look at what it's going to be like playing in these stadiums, etc. The heat obviously has been crazy. I mean, Bellingham has not had some very complimentary things to say about the pitches, has he, as well?
He's always moaning.
I mean... They're interesting. Would just very quickly say, has been a bit of a bookies tournament so far. So, in that sense, we've seen 6 of the games have ended 0-0. 19 of the games have had under 2.5 goals. And I think 24 of the games have seen both teams score no. So, if you like your BTTS yes-ackers or your overs-ackers...
in the Premier League, that's a win.
Exactly,
but I have to say... As someone that occasionally has a little dabble, I love the unders and I love the
you
BTTS.
Are an unders man, aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think in that sense as well, we've also seen a few sort of semi-shocked. Botafogo obviously beating PSG, Lola, you'll know all about that. Flamengo obviously tucked my Chelsea away last week, and Benfica sort of shot Bayern as well the other day. So yeah, it's been pretty good.
The draw's interesting for me. I mean, odds-wise, PSG are the favourites, aren't they? They're at 3.9. City 5.0, Bayern 6.0. Then you got Real Madrid just behind them. Chelsea are definitely in the best side of the draw at 11.0. Then you've got your Inters, Juves beyond that. It does look as if, Real Madrid, PSG and Bayern are all going to be on one side of the draw, and it could be City and Chelsea on the other half, which feels a little bit more gentle.
Chelsea got some tough games to get there, haven't they, to be fair? I think City are looking pretty strong. But yeah, they play Juve tonight, don't they? I think 8 p.m.
They're qualified. That both teams qualified, so it's to find out who tops the group.
Yeah.
And then if City win the group, they'll likely get Salzburg or Al Hilal. And if they don't top the group, that could be Real Madrid.
Yeah.
And then we will see Doku against Trent again.
Of course, you've got a fiver riding on your 3 tenors on City to win the Club World Cup. Are you still confident?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about that. Yeah. They haven't conceded a goal yet. And some of them
haven't really played anyone yet, have they?
True. But, Chucky scored a lovely goal the other night. And they're looking fresh. Yeah. And I think if they were to meet PSG later in the competition, that freshness... that was my argument coming into it with PSG. Would they be fresh? Would they really want it? And against Botafogo, they just, it was a real, what's the word? What is the word? Siege, a sort of siege mentality from Botafogo. And those South American teams, just a word on the South American teams, they really want it.
Oh, yeah.
And that is interesting in terms of the market because they're picking up mid-season. They're fitter than everybody else. And, there's a lot on the line for them. They might feel they've sort of been a bit trapped in CONMEBOL, and this is their chance to join up with Europe, put themselves in the shop window.
Big shop window.
I think the prices of these South American teams are interesting because they've also got fanatical support.
Yeah, I just can't see one of them winning it, but I am hearing you, and I think there's a little bit of value to be had there, maybe in the match market. Item 3 on the agenda is September's Ryder Cup. A long way off, I know, but the race for places is getting really interesting, and there is a chance, Henry, that the US captain is going to play.
I'm really pleased that you brought this up, Clarky, because the Ryder Cup, I think, is probably my favourite sporting event.
It's brilliant.
Yeah,
I went once.
Have you been?
Yeah, absolutely amazing. Went to Celtic Manor.
Oh, no, 2010.
It was awesome. It was muddy, but absolutely loved it.
Yeah, was it a Monday finish?
Yeah, I went on the day where we got extra golf. It was awesome.
Yeah, brilliant. Definite bucket list item for me. I think it's absolutely brilliant. But yeah, you obviously mentioned Keegan Bradley there. He broke Tommy Fleetwood's heart last week at the Travellers Championship in winning there. And there is a very realistic possibility that he could be the first player captain at either the Ryder Cup or President's Cup since Tiger Woods in 2019 in Melbourne. So that would be keeping pretty high.
In the Ryder Cup, by the way, it's not since Arnold Palmer in 1963, I think.
Yeah.
So it would be remarkable. By the way, Europe, I was looking at the rankings, could be unchanged, which that's never happened, surely. An unchanged 12 from 2 years ago because the top 10 in the Ryder Cup rankings all played in the last event.
Yeah.
And that leaves just John Rahm, who's definitely going to be picked.
Yeah.
And Matt Fitzpatrick, who come into a bit of form at the USPGA as the picks. I mean, that would be stunning, wouldn't it, if that happened?
That would be absolutely incredible. Yeah, as you say, Fitzpatrick there, he's got enough back class, hasn't he, I think, to get picked, having won the...
Yeah. The odds, USA 4-6 on, I'm not sure about that, Europe 11-8, draw 11-1. I think this European team is strong.
Yeah, I agree, to be honest. It's just a home advantage, isn't it? We've seen over the last few... I don't think an away team's won it since Medina in 2012, so that's always cautionary. Just did want to say about Keegan Bradley as well. Only 2 players since the start of the 2022-23 season have won more times on the PGA Tour than Keegan Bradley. So, and they are, of course, Scott Scheffler and Rory McIlroy. So if the teams were to be picked now, the top 6 obviously qualify automatically. The 6 picks for the USA. Keegan would definitely make it. He's number 8 on the list at the moment. So yeah, it's a very, very real possibility.
Will he pick him? Is he the selector?
Yeah, so he's part of the sort of selection committee, ultimately.
How awkward might that be, though, if like he's good enough to play, and then the selection committee say, "Sorry, Keegan,
well, no, I think
it
comes down to like he's got the final choice, but obviously it will have to come through the sort of committee. But yeah, he at that Medina event as well. I remember him going absolutely nuts with Mickelson. They were a brilliant pair. So yeah, be a great story if he did make it.
Can't wait for it. Late September for the Ryder Cup. This time around, it's in the States. Okay, let's play the 3 tenors every week. At the end of the pod, we all get a tenner each to place with FitStairs on an upcoming sporting event. There is no hiding place, is there, Henry? Because we've got a running league table. Henry's propping up the table at the moment. Lola's in second. I'm kind of running away with it on £168 worth of profit, but it can all change this week. I'm going to go to the Club World Cup. Palmeiras take on Botafogo. I talked about my love of the unders. I'm going to go for under 1.5 goals here at 6.4, which is in decimal odds is
6-4, 2.5. Yeah,
2.5.
Trying to protect his lead with a little shorty.
Yeah, it's a little cheeky short one. 7 of the last 21 meetings between them have gone unders. They last met in March. It was a goalless draw. You can get that at 7.0. I just think it's a high pressure game. There's so much at stake. Like you touched on it, how much they really, really want it. I just think it's going to be a must not lose kind of game. And if a team does score, they are going to batten down the hatches and try to make sure that they don't concede. So I really strongly fancy under 1.5 goals in that all Brazilian affair. Lola.
Well, I've had my fingers burned badly with this Club World Cup. And as Henry was saying, it's definitely a bookmakers championship. So you've been warned. So I'm not going there for my tenner this week. I'm going to the Curragh and the Group 1 Pretty Polly Stakes on Saturday at 3:30. And I'm going with Kalpana, the second favourite, at 5-2. I think any rain that falls, there is some forecast, is good for her. She stayed very well in the Tatterstall's Gold Cup, keeping on behind Los Angeles and Anmark. Los Angeles the winner that day. Look, neither of them exactly franked the form at Ascot, but course and distance form at the Curragh is important. And Los Angeles is obviously a reliable Group 1 yardstick. So tough to beat tough to beat Aidan O'Brien really in any race at the Curragh, but Andrew Balding's flying and I fancy her.
5-2, I like it. Last but not least, Henry, what you got?
Having to go for a big prize now because I'm sort of playing catch up to the top of the leaderboard, but just thought Wyndham Clark to win the Rocket Classic in Detroit at 33-1 was quite interesting. He shot rounds of 64 and 66 last week, but ruined it by 2 rounds of 72 as well. So he's just searching for a bit of consistency. Things are moving in the right direction though, after what's been quite a frustrating season. We saw what he did to the Lockers at Oakmont after missing the cut there. But he has shot 3 under or better in 7 of his last 8 rounds on this course. So if you're sort of looking for horses for courses, I think he's probably worth chancing here, given that since winning the US Open in 2023, he's been rubbing shoulders at these sort of signature events.
He's always there or thereabouts, Wyndham Clark.
Yeah, I mean...
Are you going on the nose here?
No, I'm having a 5 each way at 33-1.
You didn't
say that, did he?
Sorry.
I think he's got to go on the nose now because he...
no, he's not having it.
5 each way.
5 each way.
33-1,
okay,
yeah. And
right. Sorry,
just to confirm, FitStairs are paying 5 places, but a quarter of the odds. So, there you go.
That's good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not too bad, yeah.
Yeah, very generous. I like it. That's what we like to hear. Good luck, everybody. But not to you, Henry, because we can't have you winning a 33-1 shot. That is all we've got time for on FitStairs World of Sport. Thanks for listening. If you like the show, please do let somebody else know that you think might like it. Just give us a nice review or tell a friend. We are also on YouTube, where lots and lots of you have been catching up with the show, which is brilliant. It's great to have you all on board. If you want to find out more about FitStairs or any of the offers you've heard here, just visit the website, fitstairs.com. Remember, though, the prices you've heard here are subject to change, 18 plus only, and please do gamble responsibly. That's all we've got time for, guys. Enjoy your trip to East Anglia.
And can I just say how lovely it was to have another woman on the pod?
Absolutely.
I'm used to being outnumbered in here. I think it brought a slightly more sensible energy to proceedings.
Yeah,
so
it was good vibes.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. Henry, what's the weekend have in store for you?
I am actually going down to the Cotswolds this weekend because I have a golf day on Monday.
There's a surprise.
Prepping for that. Yeah, I enjoy that. So yeah, pretty chilled out, but I'm going to hone my swing on the range over the weekend.
Have fun. That was Fit Stairs World of Sport. I'm Adrian Clark, your producer with Simon Watts. In the studio today were Lola Katz-Roberts, Henry Beasley, and the brilliant Lynsey Hooper. Fit Stairs World of Sport is a track record production, and we will be back next week. Thanks for listening. See ya.